Meaning and definition of sampling. Dear students, we have been using these terms, sample and sampling, within this course. And it's now the time to know the meaning of sample or sampling, and then to define sample, right? So sample is basically from where we collect data, from where we draw data in order to test our hypothesis, right? In order to answer our research question, right? Because we test a hypothesis, we verify a hypothesis with some facts, with some information. So from where we collect those facts and information, that data, that is our sample, okay? So sampling is, an indispensable technique within a research study, particularly within social sciences. We need to have a sample, right? And our sample could be human beings. We may be studying, something on the basis of human participation, or it may be something which is based on an object, inanimate object, right? We may be, collecting data from a newspaper text or a content of a movie, or it may be a corpus or a corpora, right? So sample could be human beings or objects, right? But it is indispensable. The population is, the larger population is something which is, ultimately the, the point where we would generalize our study, right? So the target population is basically something which is the universe of the study, right? Where we would ultimately generalize the results of the study. That is our population, right? So it is not easy, it is not possible for the researchers to study the whole population, every member of the population, every individual of the group which is called population. That's not possible. So we would select a sample, right? A portion of that population, in other words, and that portion or that sample of the population is the maximum representation of that population. The maximum possible representation is possible within that sample, okay? So when we are unable to explore and to research the whole population, we would go for sampling. And it is not possible to conduct a study without sampling, right? So we would need to go for sampling and select a sample. And there are, of course, limitations why we could not study a whole population. Because of, the lack of resources, the shortcomings related to time, energy, and also money. So we are unable to study the whole population, right? So in this case, we are bound to go for sampling, right? When a research design is based on sampling, and the sample is basically giving us the possibility that our study would be economical. We would be with very, appropriate, very balanced amount of money. We would be collecting data from sample, which is the most representative data, because the sample is carrying those attributes and those features of the population which are also found in the population, as well as those are represented in the sample, right? And then it is an accurate study just on the basis of, that sample and sampling techniques, right? So sampling is a fundamental stage within a research study, and it is fundamental to all statistical methods, because whatever facts, figures, or data are collected from the sample, they are used in order to verify a hypothesis, right? And the maximum information about population is given by the sample, right? The possible information is given by the sample. So we need to go for a sample. And with the help of a sample or sampling, we would be able to generalize the research data, right? So a sample is the source of data, and sampling is the procedure or technique, and population is basically the whole group, the whole universe, where we would ultimately generalize our results, our findings.